what's up? It's me. You're no, I can't do this. How do people do this?
Oh my god! Oh,
But seriously, I really have no idea how people even do that and have these like fake personas without actually like laughing while they're saying it. So my wife's been watching a show called Love is Blind Japan on Netflix, and the premise was just so ridiculous that I just wanted to talk about it. There is an American version of this where it's just like every other reality show in the US where it's just super trashy and filled with a bunch of douchebags that are just trying to bang each other. I just found it hilarious that if you actually scroll through all the YouTube comments on the trailer of the show, people are talking about how they love Japanese culture and how respectful it is and how great the show is and the relationships between the people. I'm going to explain to you the basic premise of the show, but first I'm going to say if love is blind, then I'm Stevie Wonder. So I'm going to show a part of the trailer of the show and then we'll just kind of talk about it as we go and then we'll go from there.
外見ではなく心のつながりだけで結婚相手を見つけていただきたいと思います。
壁の向こうから聞こえる声を頼りに心のつながりを深めていただきたいと思って。
And I'm gonna stop it right here because you can already kind of see how ridiculous this premise is. And I know my wife found it very obnoxious when I pointed this out, but let's just see a tiny bit more before I talk about it. So pretty much I think like what they do is they separate themselves in like a room where you're partitioned and you're not able to actually see the other person, what they look like, and you're only hearing their voice.
こんにちは。
ここは譲れないみたいなのはあったりする？
私より身長高い人がいい。
So you pretty much see already the premise is the fact that they're partitioned between each other so you're not able to see the other person, so you can only hear them, right? And then you already kind of see right off the bat that a lot of it is based off of like what you think the other person physically looks like.
会話だけで恋に落ちるんですかね。
I'm gonna stop it there. And you pretty much get the gist of the show, and I can't watch any more of this because the obvious answer is can you fall in love by just talking? That is no. First of all, how are you gonna tell me love is blind when your whole cast of group of people all look like this? And I'd find this more believable if you threw in some Mike Wachowski looking motherfuckers and some guys that look like this, as opposed to if you're telling me everyone is like a pretty much a above average 7 to a 10, and then you're gonna tell me love is blind. Like, is it really blind though if the pool of people that you're dealing with, everyone just looks like this? Where everyone's above average? Like, can you imagine the look of disgust some of these girls would have if you actually threw a pool of some like Mike Wachowski looking people in there? Like, let's be honest, right? Even if you did have a partition and the only thing you could hear is someone's voice, well, if you think about it honestly, there's a lot of people that you could hear it through their voice. If someone sounds like this, you know that you're, all right, that's a definite pass for me, right? And let's be honest, we've all encountered some of these creepy dudes out there where you just know some guy's gonna be like, yeah, I don't care what you look like, you sound really pretty. I would date you. So yeah, it's pretty much unrealistic and a dumb premise to begin with because there's zero chance of you running into an ugly person. There's no ones or twos in the pool of people. So to say that love is blind is bullshit. Like, can you just imagine if you threw someone like me onto a show, like a regular dude?
と思っています。
これじゃ
こんにちは。
ここは譲れないみ
Alright, that's where the camera is? Okay, hold up, wait a second. So you're telling me that every single one of them looks like that and that's what they look like, and I'll talk to them and they'll talk back to me? Are you serious? Are you just fucking with me? You know what? Forget asking questions. Let's go, baby! And I know this sounds really superficial, but let's just be honest. There are some lonely dudes out there. If someone has all their limbs and everything in check, I'm pretty sure any random dude would probably be up for it. Even some dudes wouldn't care. And let's not lie to ourselves when it comes to the women as well, too. If you told me that in the pool of guys, there's some Mike Wachowskis and some gnarly looking dudes out there like that, they would say love is blind still. So outside of how dumb this show is, I just want to talk about the idea and topic of self-confidence and the reality of dating. And this could apply both to guys and girls. And if you haven't figured out life yet and you're struggling out there, there's one harsh truth I think most guys need to accept before they kind of like move on. And is that if you're a below average looking guy or if you're an average looking guy, that does not mean that's equivalent to an average looking girl or a below average looking girl. And before we try to be all PC out there, I just want to make people realize that before you say, oh, looks don't matter and it's very superficial, there's no way you're going to tell me some girl's going to choose a Mike Wachowski looking motherfucker over someone that looks like Brad Pitt if they had the choice. So the first thing most people need to realize if you haven't figured things out in life yet and you're struggling out there is that an average or below average looking guy is not equal to an average or below average looking girl. And I know every guy out there, myself included, at some point thinks that we're all Chads and we all look like Brad Pitt and we're all like 8, 9s or 10s or average or above average. But let's just be real and be honest here and have a reality check that most of us are below average despite you thinking what average is. That line is actually a lot higher. The bar is actually a lot higher than you think it is. And for the 1% of women that subscribe to me and watch my videos, I just want to put it out there that you could use this information pretty much to realize that most women actually judge themselves harsher than anyone else would and don't realize that they're actually very beautiful. Like we've all seen it, right? There's so many women out there that get stuck with these Chads and leather jacket wearing Fonzies out there that are just like douchebags and they get stuck in these toxic relationships and they think that they'll never find anyone else if they leave these people. But I'm going to give an analogy so you realize that you don't have to get stuck dating these type of people. And the dating world is really, really different when it comes to men and women. And the reality of it is a lot of times now things kind of lean towards more online dating. And if you think about it as kind of like fishing, for a guy, he could kind of stay out there and fish for hours and hours and probably would not find anything, right? And of course, there's exceptions of like if you're like a really good looking dude, then it's a lot different from a dude that looks average or below average. But for women, you have to realize you're literally fishing with an atomic bomb and all the fish are in a small kiddie pool. There's literally zero chance for you to strike out and not find anyone, as opposed to an equivalent of an same kind of guy where you're average or below average. They would have a very, very hard time to even find a single person. Like most dudes are probably really desperate and will probably settle for anyone that's even a living human being that's willing to talk to them. So for most girls out there, you just have to realize that when you feel like you won't find anyone, you just have to come to the reality that it's not as hard as you think it is. Of course, minus like the factors of you looking for, if you're looking for something very specific, like, oh, he needs to be this tall. He needs to look a certain way. His hair needs to be a certain color. He needs to work like a certain job and things like that. And there's no sugarcoating it. For the guys out there, the odds are stacked against you. You just have to accept the reality that there's just some dudes out there that just look like Brad Pitt and they're just 10s and you're just not one of them. And then once you realize that the odds are stacked against you and that you have to actually put some effort into it, you have to come to a realization that it's not an isekai. It's not all these things that you watch where a girl will just randomly fawn over you for no freaking reason at all. You can't stay in your room, put zero effort in yourself, and if your room looks like this where you have a whole shelf of anime girl statues, wall posters and mouse pads and whatnot. So if your room looks like the Anime Titties Museum, so if you're single but you don't want to be and you're wondering why you and why it's happening to you, then that's like playing Guess Who and every single one of the picture is a picture of you and you're still wondering why. So going back to the idea that you're not the person that's fishing in a cup of water with an atomic bomb. So what are some things that hinder your success outside of having an Anime Titties Museum in your room? I'm going to point out some of the really obvious ones that some people just don't see. So going back to the concept of, remember, love is not blind, and a lot of times people judge you based on the first impression that you give. And that's just the reality of it, and we can't avoid it no matter how we try to say, oh, that's just superficial. And ideally, it's all about what's matters inside. So yeah, no, do not listen to the people that they say looks don't matter. That's why you're doomed to fail if you listen to those people. First of all, remember first impressions matter, right? The first thing and the most important thing most people need to do is just, you have to clean yourself up. If you have one of these pedo stashes, you're probably better off shaving them off because no matter how good you think you look, they're called pedo stashes for a reason. And if you have long hair and you think you look like Jason Momoa, but you're single and you can't figure out why people don't like you, then you probably don't look like Jason Momoa. Most guys are probably better off not with long hair and trying to pull off that hipster haircut or the man bun. But jokes aside, right? Outside of, just cleaning yourself up, going to the gym, taking a shower every day, and all that other stuff, and just like, being clean in general and just making yourself look presentable, the main thing is if you're triggered by any of this, the main thing most people lack is probably a sense of humor. Like any other bad situation in life, even outside of relationships, if things are not going your way and you're not having the ability to just laugh it off and just make light of the situation and being able to just move on, then that could be your main problem. But yeah, my main point is pretty much that we have to face the reality that love is not blind and that's just unrealistic. And as long as we're able to face that reality, then you'll have a higher chance out there. Unless that's your thing, right? You don't mind being alone and that's what you want to be. You want to be alone for the rest of your life. But I personally feel, in my opinion, that most of us out there are lonely and don't want to be alone. And you do want someone to be able to share your life with. And I think a lot of it has to do with the science that we do have some Unga Bunga, caveman DNA in us where we just don't want to be alone and you want to be around other people. It's just built into us as humans. So pretty much in conclusion, the TLDR is for the guys out there, just put some effort into it and realize that it's not an anime. There's no one that's going to fall into your lap and there's no one that's going to help you randomly out of nowhere to help you not be alone. The only thing that you can do is put yourself out there, reevaluate your life, look at the surrounding around you, see what you have to change, and also realize that the odds are stacked against you, but you just have to have a sense of humor as well as to just try, and you'll do fine. As people, we just tend to gravitate towards other people that are just more happy and more positive because we want to feel those positive feelings. We're not drawn to the people that are always just like, oh, woe is me. I don't know why things are the way that they are. I don't know why I can't find anyone. No one wants to be around that, right? So don't take things personal. Laugh it off. Have a good time in life because that's what you should be doing. And if you just have a sense of humor when it comes to things and approach things a different way, then good things will happen. I promise you. As for the 1% of female viewers out there that somehow stumble upon my channel and videos, realize that it's not as complicated and hard as you think it is. Whether you're alone or you're stuck with some toxic douchebag that just is abusive and you deserve better, you have to realize. Know that as a woman compared to guys who are equipped with fishing rods, you are fishing with an atomic bomb. All the guys out there pretty much feel like this. They feel like they're Frodo and Sam, and they're pretty much competing with every other dude that looks like a Brad Pitt, Legolas, or like an Aragorn. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a little bit different from what I normally do when it comes to collectibles and stuff like that. But I just thought it was a funny topic to talk about, especially after she told me about this show. And that I guess I kind of just want to rant about it. And just remember that sometimes it does feel like life just kicks you in the balls and just kicks you while you're down and it just never seems to ever let up. But you just have to believe in yourself and believe that, as long as you try, good things will happen. Have a great day. Oh yeah, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet or liked the video or just left a comment, please do. I recently hit 100 and I guess the next goal is going to be 200. And I hope we could keep going from there because I do feel like I'm trying to put out a lot of content that could be helpful to people and spreading like just good messages overall that could be helpful to someone that needs it. And I hope that you guys feel the same way as well. And I hope I win you over time. Thank you again and have a great day.